Hello and welcome to WeatherWise. The term El Nino is something we hear a lot, especially during the wintertime, because it has a unique effect on our wintertime weather. Not every winter, but sometimes it does, and certainly in the winter of 2009-2010, El Nino has been present. It is an abnormal warming of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. It's a periodic event, anywhere between about 4 and 12 years, although typically it occurs around every 5 years as an average. And to find out what it's all about, let's go to the equator, especially across the Pacific Ocean. Now, typically, there is high pressure across the eastern Pacific and low pressure in the western Pacific. That creates a very persistent trade wind. North of the equator, the trade winds are out of the northeast. South of the equator, they are out of the southeast. Called the trade winds because for centuries, sailors and merchant ships would use these trade winds to set up trade routes all around the world. Very persistent winds, great for sailing, getting from one part of the world to another. Now, every so often, we have what's called a southern oscillation, which means that the high pressure center in the eastern Pacific weakens, and the low pressure center weakens as well. The bottom line is when these pressure systems change, then the trade winds change. As long as these trade winds are persistent, they keep the warmer surface water across the western part of the Pacific. They literally push that surface water and keep it out west. But in those times when the pressure systems do oscillate and weaken, the trade winds weaken. And when we don't have that persistently strong northeast and southeast trade wind, that allows the warmer surface water in the western Pacific to come all the way over into the eastern Pacific. You can almost think about it as water kind of sloshing back and forth in a bathtub, the warmer water sloshing back over to the east. When that happens, that warm air goes all the way over into the equatorial regions of South America, and that warm water can disrupt the fishing there. In fact, the Peruvian fishermen centuries ago used to call this disruption in their fishing due to warm waters El Nino, the child, the Christ child, because the warming would often occur right around Christmas time. All right, well, what does that mean for us? This warm water in the equatorial Pacific, as it sloshes back to the east, can actually strengthen the upper air winds, the atmosphere above it. So for us here in North America, it means a split jet stream flow during a typical El Nino winter. And the southern branch of the jet stream can become quite strong, even stronger, or at least as strong as the northern branch of the jet stream. Storm-wise, that means strong storms come on shore in central and southern California, move along the southern United States and the Gulf Coast. There can also be some fairly strong storms coming on shore in the Pacific Northwest as well as British Columbia, although they tend to dry up as they cross the Canadian Rockies. By the way, that northern branch north of us and the southern branch south of us means the central U.S. tends to stay relatively quiet during an El Nino winter. It doesn't mean we're totally storm-free, but the tendency is for that to happen. And one other item, when that northern branch of the jet stream is north of us, it tends to trap the really cold Arctic air way up in Canada, and we don't see those Arctic outbreaks. So a classic El Nino winter is fairly quiet around here with relatively few Arctic outbreaks. El Nino in full swing. And by the way, its counterpart, when there's an abnormal cooling of the Pacific, is La Nina. And that can have a whole other set of circumstances here in our weather across North America. That's it for WeatherWise. I hope to see you on Fox 6 News.